The LNP dropped a bombshell on state politics today with the sensational axing of its long-serving MP, Dr Bruce Flegg. The member for Moggill's career was over in 30 seconds. That's the duration of the phone call Dr Flegg says he received from party president Bruce McIver, telling him he would not be allowed to go forward to a pre-selection battle. To discuss the dramatic events, Bruce Flegg joined me in the studio earlier this evening. Dr Flegg, did you see this coming?
Matt, I'm pretty devastated by what's happened today after giving more than a decade of loyal service to the LNP. I had been warned months ago that the LNP wanted the seat of Moggill. However, I am still deeply shocked by their decision today.
How did they let you know?
I had a brief 30-second phone call from President Bruce McIver, who informed me that they were not going to let me run for pre-selection, and no reason was given. He hung up.
What do you think your crime was?
Look, I've never been found to have done anything wrong at all. Every long-serving politician has some ups and downs, but make no mistake, this is the day that the LNP walked away from their principles. The meeting today was to stop me from standing for pre-selection. It was to deprive the LNP members in Moggill of the free choice of who they wanted to support at the election. Now, that principle of democracy is fundamental, at least to the Liberal Party. The Labor Party allow unions and faceless men to choose their candidates, but it is not one of the principles the LNP should have operated under. And there is a contested pre-selection in Moggill. I could easily have been defeated by a fair vote of the members, but they knew that the members would not have voted me down because I have loyally served both the party and the electorate of Moggill. So because they couldn't win the pre-selection, they had to rub me out as a candidate because they want the seat for someone else.
Who do they want it for?
The LNP has some significant internal factional battles. These don't always come to public light, but they're well known within the party. It is well known that when John Paul Langbroek was leader, the organisation were determined to remove him no matter what, and that was the basis of their move to push me out of Moggill last time. I mean, they appear to have done it this time, but last time to push me out of Moggill and put in Campbell Newman was about getting rid of John Paul Langbroek. They've now given up on Campbell Newman, and the battle is on to see who replaces him probably after the next election.
Hang on, you think that they don't believe Campbell Newman can win Ashgrove?
I am certain that the LNP do not believe Campbell Newman can win Ashgrove.
Who in the LNP?
And would they be endorsing high-profile, long-serving members in the twin seat to Ashgrove? We even have the same local papers, if they really thought that they were going to help Campbell.
You sound pretty sure of yourself about... So who in the LNP...
This is about the factional battle for who leads the LNP after Campbell Newman is gone, whether or not that is before or after the election. And let me say, and I mean this sincerely, Campbell certainly has upset a lot of people and is a very unpopular Premier. But Campbell and Lisa Newman are very, very decent people, and I have a lot of time for them both. And Campbell inherited a near impossible situation in this state and a very difficult divided party. And despite some obvious failings, he has done the best he can in this setting. But it is clear now, and I had meetings with the party officials not long ago. I've done my own private polling, I've seen other private polling, and there is public polling. The former National Party...
And what does that say, that polling that you're talking about?
The polling says that in the community, Campbell Newman is very unpopular,
and so you think...
particularly in the seats in Brisbane, and we have a major problem. When I was first elected to
But just to explain to people at home, you think that there is some sort of succession plan or plot at this stage to remove Campbell Newman as Premier from within the LNP itself?
There is no doubt that the factional players in the party are planning the succession at this time. And there have been approaches, there have already been approaches to me and other people in relation to supporting particular candidates.
Who else?
I'm not a spoiler in any way. I don't. People within the party know exactly who I'm talking about, but I don't want to, particularly on a day where I'm personally very distressed, I don't want to go and name those names. But there is no doubt that what happened today, to deny pre-selectors in Moggill the opportunity to vote for me or against me at a pre-selection, was because they couldn't beat me at a pre-selection and they want the seat for a particular factional candidate.
So
and
there's
I had been warned
a bigger game.
I had been warned 6 months ago to expect it.
Now, have you got any support, for instance, from Campbell Newman in your pre-selection?
Oh, look, Campbell strongly supported me, and he texted me just yesterday to say that he would strongly support me.
On your phone?
Yes, texted me on the phone to say on a number of occasions that he would strongly support me. This is the...
What did he say in his...
This is... Well, I would have to look at it to read it, but...
You can get it now if you like.
This is the faceless people of the organisation, similar to what Labor would be. The text says, "You will be supported by me or my nominated rep, I assure you of that, Bruce Cam." This is about the faceless people. Don't forget, this is just to stop me running for pre-selection. This is nothing about me running at an election for Moggill. And they are poking Campbell Newman in the eye.
Do you think he'll be angry that you've been dumped?
Look, Campbell won't be happy that I'm doing a public interview, but I think the public have a right to know. And I think that Campbell would be very distressed that in the adjoining seat to his, which is really the sister seat to Ashgrove, the organisation have disendorsed the sitting member of over a decade, who is a former Liberal leader, who wrote many of the policies that today we are implementing and will take to the next election, that they disendorsed under those circumstances.
Now, on the same day that you were dumped out of Moggill, 2 other MPs also had their vetting process approved. Why do you think you were blocked and, for instance, Ros Bates was allowed to move forward?
Well, look, I have no public comment that I want to make in relation to Ros and Peter. You know, I wish them well. I think the community will have a look at the decision that was made today, and I have had dozens and dozens of calls. You saw my phone ringing off the hook before, of people, many of them journalists, senior people in Queensland, who are just scratching their head. Even sitting on the backbench over the last little bit, I've been out there, I have fought and changed the laws for cycle safety. I had approval to get an inquiry up on cyberbullying. I'd raised the issues of obesity and diabetes, all the things that sort of matter, particularly to urban Liberal sort of seats. It just begs the question, why would you want to get rid of me under these circumstances?
There were allegations that Campbell Newman was going to be slotted into your seat. You obviously don't believe that that's still a plan.
No, it is a matter of public record that the LNP tried to force me out at the last election. And frankly, because I didn't bow to their will, perhaps I was doomed from that time on. I don't believe that since that time Campbell has coveted the seat of Moggill, and I think that Campbell is very genuine and fair dinkum that he intends and wants to run in the seat of Ashgrove. And I think there are other forces at play, and they are not forces that are coming from Campbell Newman.
Now, you were talking about some of your highlights. Obviously, one of the lowlights was the CMC investigation into whether you were offered an inducement to leave Moggill. A Plum Overseas trade post was one of the claims. Can you elaborate on that now?
Well, politics, every long-serving politician has ups and downs. A leak to the media led to a CMC inquiry about, in the process of trying to push me out of Moggill to depose John Paul Langbrook as leader, whether I was offered an inducement or whether I was simply being pushed. I don't want to, and I'm not allowed by law, to tell you what proceedings took place at the CMC, but needless to say, it was found that there was no inducement offered.
Now, will you sit with your LNP colleagues now for the remainder of this term?
Well, the question of what the future holds, this is just day one.
Surely you can't sit next to them in the Parliament now.
I'm a very, very upset person, as I think anyone would be who has given more than a decade of their life, most of it in really difficult opposition, loyally to serve the Liberal Party first and in later years the LNP. I don't want to say things when I am really upset. I want to take my time. I'm not a spoiler. There are some really great people in the LNP that Queenslanders should be proud to have. And some of those Brisbane members with difficult seats are terrific members of Parliament. They will have huge battles to hold their seats. And I would never want to do anything to hurt the likes of Steve Davis or Reg Scully, Trev Ruthenberg, Darren Grimwade, Seth Holbrook, a whole array, Kerry Millard, a whole array of very, very fine MPs who will really, really struggle in Brisbane. So I'm not going to set about to spoil, but it is difficult to see how I could do other than sit on the crossbenches. You know, I have not even been given a reason by the party for my dumping. So it is difficult to see how I would simply sit there and pretend. And really, at the end of the day, I've been a medical practitioner for over 35 years. Almost every one of those years I have served or worked in the poorest communities, with Indigenous patients, in communities with very high levels of unemployment, high levels of social dislocation and so forth. I'm very, very committed to medical practice in those areas, and that will be an option for me in the future. I would only go back into disadvantaged communities as I've always worked in, but it's day one, and after something as distressing as what's happened today, we have to sometimes just take a big breath and wait and see. And I mean, the worst part of it all is that 250 really loyal LNP members in Moggill have now been denied the right to choose who represents them. And the electors of Moggill, at the past 4 elections, the margin for the Liberal Party was 200 votes when I took over in Moggill. At each of the last 4 elections, I've significantly increased that vote to make it one of the safest seats in the state. And yet the LNP would not even give the people of Moggill the option for me to be pre-selected again.
All right. Bruce Flegg, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.